What's up, guys? With Season 11 comes tons of changes, and after spending the first week on it and getting a distinction in each of the main three trading companies, I feel like I've found the best ways and overall strategies to level each one. We're going to start off with Gold Hoarders. Now, number one thing for Gold Hoarders is going to be obviously the Fleet of Fortune this season. It takes you from Grade 0 to Grade 5 Emissary 95% of the time. You get tons of Gold Hoarder loot, but you also get the Chest of Fortune, which is a massive boost to Gold Hoarders, especially if you have the Emissary up. I'll be making a video tomorrow about the quickest way to do Fleet of Fortune and how to make it easier, because I know some people are having problems with it. But if you want a quick rundown, the idea is if you have 2 people on a sloop or any bigger ship, at least 2 people, you need to have one person harpoon the ship and hold to the side of it while everybody else shoots it. And then once you get some holes in it, have 1 or 2 people board, depending on how many people you have and how many holes you have 1 or 2 people board to stop the cannons from firing and the skeletons from repairing, and this will sink ships really quickly. The second thing that is best for Gold Hoarders is the Ashen Vaults. Now, we all know that these are amazing already, but they've added a few changes this season that make them even better. Now, diving makes these obviously quicker, as you could spawn at Sanctuary Outpost and be there in a minute. The timing has been adjusted to match the amount of players, so you can do these solo now. The other thing is that the key preference for each island, so whichever island you dig up the key on, it's going to automatically go to the closest one of the 2 vaults in the Devil's Roar. The only risk to this is the eruptions and how long it takes to unload things out of the vault, but it's pretty easy. Just get the medallions, drop all the chests down, and solve the puzzle, and now you can even do it solo if you're solo because of the time adjustment for amount of players. Now, number 3 is the new raid voyages. Now, all of them are great to level any trading company. Just pick one that drops the big company's treasure item. These are amazing. They give like almost a level, unless you're like about 100. They give almost an entire level by themselves, as well as all the extra loot that you get with it. Now, the other thing to pay attention to is passive gains. The updated message in a bottle quest are a great chance to get King's Chest or Cursed Treasure, as well as the shipwrecks also have a high chance of spawning King's Chest or Ashen King's Chest. These are both amazing things. The Emissary quest for Gold Hoarders is also pretty good this season, as you can get Baron's Chest, Admiral's Chest. The overall strategy is to kind of just server hop by diving for either Ashen Vaults or Raid Voyages. Each time you enter a new server, keep an eye out for the Fleet of Fortune and hit it up if you feel confident in doing so. Along the way, complete all of the emergent events: message in a bottle, shipwrecks, megalodons, popping up skeleton ships, and then use the emissary quest after hitting grade 5 and go ahead and use that. Decide if you're going to reset or don't, depending on what you're doing, what you're comfortable with. I normally don't reset my emissary, but I just stay at grade 5 and sell everything that I can, but that's up to you. Moving on to Order of Souls. Now, Order of Souls has always been my least favorite, but this season it's actually not too bad. Number 1 is the Skeleton Fort Raid Voyages specific. This Voyages drops the large treasure items for Order of Souls, the Eye, just as it does for every other trading company. However, this fort will also drop 2 extra villainous skulls and a stronghold skull from the bosses when you complete the fort. This means that if you have grade 5 emissary, you're getting an extra like 3/4 level to a level of boost, depending on what level you are, just because you're doing it for Order of Souls instead of something else. These can be done really fast and they're super repeatable, as well as you have a pretty low chance of sinking because you shouldn't be really using your ship for any of it. The second best thing to do for Order of Souls, if you don't feel like doing Skeleton Fort Raid Voyages, is to hunt for the Skeleton Lords. These voyages, whether diving for them or found in a message bottle, drop special order loot that I haven't personally seen anywhere else, though they might come from other places. These voyages can also be completed very quickly with a low chance of sinking. They're very repeatable, and you can use your ship to speed up the process by shooting the Skeleton Lord with cannons. And then number 3 is the other raid voyages. The other raid voyages are, other than a Skeleton Fort, all still great because they all still drop the Order Eye, and that's just an amazing loot item. All of these raid voyages are crazy good for leveling up quickly, especially once you get them down and get into the groove of things. Passive gains for Order are also pretty good. Message in a Bottles are great for Order. Whether it's Crews or the Skeleton Lords, they're all great. They drop the Kingly Bounty Skulls. They're pretty amazing. There's also a lot of just random skeletons on islands that you can kill for Kingly Bounty Skulls, which are pretty solid. Shipwrecks are still worth checking out, but they're less likely to have really good Order loot. They're more likely to have good gold or merchant loot, but I would still definitely check them out, as you might find a thing or two. Emissary quest is also pretty good for Order. It drops a lot of the good bounty skulls, and it drops a decent amount of them, so I definitely do it once you get to grade 5. And once again, whether you want to reset to get another one or you don't, that's up to you. The overall strategy for raid voyages is to use the Skeleton Fort raid voyage to level up your emissary. Keep an eye out for emergent events and use that emissary quest when you get it. Order's pretty basic. And the last one I want to talk about is Merchant Alliance. Now, there is a strategy for Merchant Alliance that I'm not going to talk about as one of my top 3, and I have a reason for it. It is a really amazing way to level. There's a way to use Devil's Roar cargo in a Brigantine or Galleon that allows you to get tons of it stacked before you deliver it. I almost never play with a Brigantine and Galleon though, so I don't find this as a very viable method for me as a solo player, as well as I don't have very much experience doing it, so I don't know if it's actually worth it. So I'm not going to use it, but go look for a video if you're interested in that, because I'm not saying it's not a good method. Number 1 for me for Merchant Alliance is Fort of the Damned. Fort of the Damned has been easier, cheaper, and more repeatable than ever with diving to the Skull of Destiny voyages, as well as them being completely free to start. Fort of the Damned is really good for any trading company because of the really good loot and the lots of extra gems that you get when you complete it. But Fort of the Damned is best for Merchant because it drops 4 Stronghold kegs as well as 2 Bone Dust crates. You could also get 2 more Stronghold kegs from the Stronghold keg wave, or actually unlimited if you go watch my previous video. But even if you don't do that, it's still best to do as Merchant because you get at least 6 items plus the gems, unlike the other trading companies in which you get 4. And then number 2 for Merchant is the Ashen Lost Executive Shipments. Now these give tons of crates as well as a ship manifest, and this voyage is also likely to get you to grade 4 or 5, meaning it's a great session starter to do before you start anything else. And then number 3 is the raid voyages. The scrolls drop from these as well as the diamonds give tons of rep and gold. My favorite to do for Merchant is either the Flameheart's Armada or the Skeleton Fort, but again, pick the one that you can do best effectively and repeatably and that you feel you can do the most safely without sinking, because that's going to be your most effective way to do it. The passive gains, the Emissary Voyage as well as the Message in a Bottles for Merchant Alliance are really not worth it. They're kind of terrible. However, shipwrecks have a decent chance to spawn a lot of crates, as well as sometimes even the diamond crates, which are really good for rep, so keep an eye out for your shipwrecks. The overall Merchant strategy is to start a session with a Lost Executive Ashen shipment, and then choose to do either Raid Voyages or Fort of the Damned. Keep an eye out for shipwrecks, skeleton ships, and megalodons as you're sailing around. Like I said, Emissary Quest and Message in a Bottle really aren't worth it for Merchant, but everything else should be good to go. No matter what trading company you're doing, try and change it up every once in a while to save yourself from burnout from doing the same voyages over and over, because what good is really high reputation and distinction rings if you don't enjoy the game after you get them and you don't even want to play anymore? In between voyages, engage in the emergent events such as skeleton ships, megalodons, Message in a Bottles, and shipwrecks, and other things you can find while sailing. These are all now great sources of loot for Season 11. Stop at random islands and look what they got to offer if you have the time. If you guys have any ways that you think I missed or should include, please let me know, and if you enjoyed this video or found it informational, please like and subscribe as it helps me massively. Peace out.